The engagement feature in Argenta offers insight into how your supporters and your team prefer to communicate and what aspects of your work they're most passionate about. Understanding how you're communicating helps you evaluate the effectiveness of your engagement strategies. I'm Michelle Sanchez, the Director of Marketing and Communication for Argenta, and in this video, I'll show you the engagement feature in the Sales and Marketing module. You can find engagement in several places throughout the system because, like every section in Argenta, engagement is fully integrated. That means every type of constituent in your system has the opportunity for engagement, and you can log them in many places while being able to find them easily. The most obvious place to find engagement is in the Sales and Marketing module by selecting Sales and Marketing from the main menu, then selecting Engagement. This is the engagement list, and it displays every single engagement that has ever occurred. Consider an engagement, any interaction your constituents have with your organization. An engagement doesn't just get created when you add one, although you can. They mostly happen whenever an action is taken anywhere in Argenta or on one of your public forms or interfaces, like a portal. As an example, let's say a volunteer signs up for a volunteer task on your public volunteer calendar. This automatically gets logged as an engagement. An engagement record has fields that help you to understand what action or communication took place, when, and with whom. The engagement list displays the name of the constituent. That's the person, household, or organization with whom the engagement was made. The date and time the engagement took place. The engagement type. This could be email sent, phone call received, presentation given, or action taken. The associated team member. Team members are the people who work directly for your organization in one or more of the following ways: as a staff member, as a board member, any of your Argenta users, or as a volunteer that you have designated as an active team member. If the constituent with whom the engagement was made is assigned a chapter, division, department, a district, or precinct, it will be displayed. These are only displayed in the list if they're applicable, otherwise you won't see these fields. Every list in Argenta has pretty much the same actions you can take, but I'll walk through them here to help you understand how engagement works. You can add a new engagement by clicking the Add New button above the list. This creates the record and takes you into the engagement workspace where you can enter the details of the engagement. Now, this is the workspace, so this is where you can view and update the record at any time. We landed here because we're adding a new engagement, so we have to make sure that all the necessary fields are filled in. When you added your engagement, the date and time were added automatically. You can change this if the actual engagement happened on a different day or at a different time. Next, you'll select the constituent with whom the engagement was made. To select a constituent, click the lookup icon. This will open a window where you can search for the constituent you want to enter. Select them from the results, and the window will close. The constituent field will reflect your choice. Next is the team member who was involved in the engagement. This field will automatically display the user who added the engagement. It can be changed if the user is adding the engagement on behalf of someone else. This field is not required because some engagements are made just by the constituent taking an action. Now we'll select the engagement type. Engagement types are classification codes in your system. Argenta comes preloaded with system codes and some other common types. You can use these or add your own. If you want to use an engagement type that isn't in the list, that's okay. Click the Add icon, then add your engagement type. The window will close and the type you entered will be selected. The next field, record type, is the affiliation of the constituent for whom the engagement was made. So, for example, if you're talking to a volunteer about opportunities for them to help out, you would select volunteer because the engagement was made with them in the capacity of their volunteerism. Finally, you can type a description or explanation for the engagement. This is an open text field, so you can add any details you like. That's it. Now, save the record and you'll see it at the top of the list. When we added our engagement, we were redirected to the workspace to fill in all the details. Once an engagement has been created, you can return to the workspace at any time to view or modify the record. To open the workspace, use the corresponding open icon in the list. There are a few other things you may have noticed here. Like every workspace in Argenta, you can set permissions at the record level. You can set the record to view only, which means anyone can open it, but only users with permission to modify it can make changes. You can also choose to lock the record. Locking a record means only users with permissions set for the record can open it. Setting record permissions is easy. There are two sections on this tab, one for view-only access and one for locked record permissions. Here's how this works. If you have set your record to view only, you can select users here that you would like to open the record to. In other words, anyone listed here can modify the record, even if it's set to view only. In the same way, if you have set your record to locked, you can select users here that you would like to open the record to. In other words, anyone listed here can access and modify the record. Otherwise, the record will display in the list with a locked icon and limited information. If a user without permission tries to open it, they are redirected to a permissions page, letting them know they cannot because the record is locked. This page also displays the permissions they do have and allows them to return to the list. One exception to this is when a user is designated as a master admin. Master admins can do just about anything in Argenta, so most restrictions don't apply to them. If any user, even a master admin, tries to delete a locked record, they receive a message letting them know they cannot delete the record from the list. Users with permissions to open the record are instructed to do so and delete the record from the workspace. All right, there are a few more things you can do here on the main list page. Finding records in Argenta is very easy because there are a few different ways you can do it. You can, of course, use the search bar found at the top of every list. The search field tells you what fields you can search by. So for engagement, you can search by the constituent's name or by the engagement type. So you can see here, only records that meet the search criteria you entered are displayed. Okay, so let's cancel that search. And take a look at a few other ways to hone in on what you're looking for. You'll notice, and this is also found in every list, that you can sort your list by whichever field you choose here in the sort control. Choose the field you want to sort by, then choose ascending or descending order. So you can see now that your engagements are sorted by record type in descending order. This is nice if you just want to quickly scroll through similar records. Let's go ahead and put the list back to its default sort order, which is by date in descending order. Now, another way to really narrow down your results and gain some insight into your engagement is to use the filter. Filters are found above every list, and they are quite powerful. So I'm not going to go too deep into how filters work because we have another knowledge base article that gives an in-depth overview of filtering in Argenta. So for our purposes, let's filter our engagements a little bit to see how this one can specifically benefit you. You can see here that filters contain the fields that pertain to your records. You can filter by one or as many fields as necessary. Let's use a real-world example. Let's say your board president has asked how many email engagements with donors you had from the beginning of last year to now. Let's use the filter to get that count. The record type would be donors. The engagement type would be both email sent and email received. And then you'd set a date range from the beginning of last year. So enter that date in the start date field. Until now. So you can just leave the end date field blank. Click the Filter the List button, and you'll see the total count right above the list. That's it. It's very easy to narrow down records in any list using the filter. Let's close the filter here. There's one more thing I want to quickly talk about on the list page, and that's bulk actions. Many lists in the system have a bulk action control, and it's very useful. You can select one or more records in the list, or you can filter the list any way you like. Then use the bulk action control to select all the records that meet that filter criteria. Once you have the records you want to take an action on selected, that's when you choose which bulk action you want to take. You can choose whichever action you want, then click the Run Bulk Action button. If the action you selected requires more information, a window will pop up. Complete your action by taking whatever step is needed, and the selected records will be updated when the window closes. Bulk actions throughout the system make it much easier to make changes to multiple records all at the same time. All right, that gives you a solid understanding of how the engagement list works, the actions you can take here, and the usefulness of the engagement workspace. Now remember, I told you earlier that engagement happens throughout the system when specific things happen. One of those things is the Argenta contact log. If you don't know, Argenta has a master contact log, which also works in many modules throughout the system. Let's take a look at the contact log for one of the volunteers we have in our demo account. In the volunteer workspace, open the contact log tab. This is the contact log for the volunteer we're working with. Let's add a contact record. Click the Add New button. Adding a contact log item is pretty self-explanatory. Just enter the date and time the contact took place and select the team member who made contact. The system automatically fills in whatever user is logged in, but you can change it if you're logging it on behalf of someone else on your team. Now, this is where you add an engagement. You just choose the engagement type and the system does the rest. Finally, use the Argenta content editor to enter everything you want to record about the contact that was made. If it was a phone call, you can enter the high-level details of the conversation. Click the Save and Add Contact Log Item button. And that's it. You've not only logged a phone call you had with a volunteer, but you also created an engagement, all in one step. This is an example of how integration in Argenta makes the things you do so much easier, giving you back the time you need to do more of what really matters. Remember, engagement happens when actions are taken throughout your system. You can review them anytime to understand how your organization is engaging with supporters, team members, and potential partners. This is a foundational part of sustainability and success for years to come. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video on engagement in Argenta. I hope it will benefit you and help you to get the most out of your subscription. For more information about this or any module in Argenta, reference our knowledge base at argentasoftware.com/KB.